It's a Sunday, so I am ready to get right to the Graps talk because we got to talk about Randy Orton and that end of SmackDown. Because if I was a player on a football team and that end of that segment was the coach, I'm ready to run through a damn wall. I'm ready to run through a brick wall for whoever in WWE that put that main event segment together with Randy Orton. I remember about a week or so ago, where little lady on this podcast was so upset and been out of shape because Punk came back at Survivor Series, and one of the first things she said is, he just shit all over Randy Orton's return. I tried to explain to the pretty young lady that, don't worry, WWE TV will make sure that we understand how important Randy Orton's return was. And I'd be damned if SmackDown wasn't all about where he's signing to. Is he going to Raw? Is he going to SmackDown? Both GMs on the show buying for him. Nick Aldis even says, if I got to give up the entire Bloodline to get Randy Orton, so be it. Bloodline has Roman Reigns in it. So any worry about CM Punk taking the spotlight from Randy Orton, hopefully now should cease to that pretty young lady that has just disdain in her heart for Phil Brooks, aka CM Punk. Episode 88 of the TFW podcast. I am Matt. That is Eshawn. Said pretty young lady Rhodesia is also here with us live in the living color. What's up, y'all?
Once again, we have to start the show somehow with Phil Brooks. You exhibit A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Once again, he overshadowed Randy Orton's return again. Can we just have? If we would have just had, guess what?
Until you hear
Randy
Wednesday's
Orton,
topic around
Randy
CM
Orton
Punk.
had a wonderful comeback on SmackDown. Everybody went crazy. He looks great. Got a nice little cream hoodie zip up. Somehow Phil Brooks just slimes his way back into the conversation to start the show off.
Wait until Wednesday. The entire show's gonna be a Phil Brooks dedication.
I think I'm sick on Wednesday.
We're going to go over our favorite wrestlers that start with the letter C. We're like, it is. Eshawn, so Randy Orton is on SmackDown, man. What's your we talked about it last week, and we said, hey, he's got to go to SmackDown, right? Like, you're just too top heavy on Raw if you have Punk, Orton, Cody, Jay. Like, we knew he was going to SmackDown. What'd you think of how they pulled it off and just kind of the entire story thread on SmackDown around it?
To answer your question, I loved it. But real quick, before I get into it, though, I'm really excited, Rhodesia, that CM Punk is going to be on SmackDown next week. I love that they ended the show with that graphic.
You double down on the intro of Phil Brooks. Got it.
I just
you know what?
His name's CM Punk too, by the way.
You know what? I'm gonna embrace this CM Punk because clearly it's irritating me. Every episode is irritating me. Out of the 89 episodes we've done, probably 42 of them is about him. Somehow we started with it and we end with him. So you know what? I'm gonna embrace it. You know what? I'm about to be the biggest CM Punk fan. Mark, y'all gonna be disgusted. I'm gonna be such a big fan. Y'all gonna start hating on him. Starting at this moment.
That's all we've ever asked of you. Is
I don't think you like that. But you know, going back to Randy Orton, though, guys, this for me for my personal fandom, this might be his most important run for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always liked Randy Orton. You know, like I love his heel runs, the Viper, the Legend Killer. But he, for me, was never on a level of like a John Cena, like those super main event like level guys. And he might get there with this run because he looks like a star. I mean, he's always looked like a star, but he's coming out like one of those all-time greats now. Like, right, he has like that aura about him, like that he's just on another level right now,
yep.
which is great because he deserves that. His skill level, all the actual wrestlers talk about how he's one of the best workers ever. Now, I don't know what makes a worker, great. I know what I watch, if I enjoy seeing someone wrestle or not. I've always enjoyed him in the ring, but I think he's on another level with this run, guys. What you think?
Matt, you had mentioned a few weeks ago, kind of like our fandom of wrestling, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, something along the lines of that kind of a question. And I would say that I've grown because, of course, Randy Orton is gorgeous. So when he first debuted, he was just a beautiful face. along the line, I stopped liking him. Part of it because I guess I was a mark. So when he was a bad guy, I disliked him. But also I felt like he was just very slow in the ring and very methodical in the type of wrestling that I don't like. However, as my fandom is growing, I'm learning to appreciate how important it is to tell a story in the ring, how important it is that you don't have to super doing all those flips and grips and flying through the air. If that's not your style, you could tell a story a little bit slower, kind of like a Randy Orton methodical match. I appreciate him a lot more now because I kind of get it. I understand it. And maybe that's just my fandom with him just from since I've watched him when he first debuted, that now I finally can appreciate Orton for what he is. So when you say, E, that this might be his most important run, for me, it absolutely is, because now I'm able to see him for what he really is as a wrestler, the psychology he has in the ring, in just a different light. So I absolutely think that this is going to be, for me, his legacy. No pun intended with him being a legacy killer. But I think this is going to be the most important for Randy Orton to me in my fandom. And I'm here for it.
Let's not forget, too, though. Let's not have revisionist history. Orton was going through the motion for a couple years.
And that could have been it, too. That could have been why I felt that way about it, too.
And we know that. And even other wrestlers have kind of said, like, hey, if Orton is not into the program that he's in, because he's so good, he'll go out there. Yeah, like, he's not going to have a stinker of a match ever because he's Orton, but he ain't into it. And we saw that for a long time. You know, now it's that he's back. And then really the thing that he did with Matt Riddle, as much as we got our feelings on Riddle himself, like that kind of gave him that passion back. And you could see him having fun again. And Randy Orton as having fun is the best Randy Orton. Did you see on Friday, just him taking in the crowd, which that crowd in Brooklyn was there for him. So shout out to them. Another hot crowd for WWE. And he could have let that go for minutes and minutes and minutes. But of course they had to cut him off. And that's the main event segment. We got to get in and out. But hey, I started on the show. I loved how that all played out. I loved how they made it important. Both GMs being there and basically both GMs telling you, hey, you sign with me. This is what I can get you. Pierce is like, look, man, you can sign with me. I'm giving you a title shot. Like, you up next after Jay. Mm-hmm. And Aldis is like, look, I can get you what you've been waiting for. So then to get, Jimmy involved, to get Heyman involved, it was just that is how you do business. And wrestling is like anything else in life, ice cream, movies, everybody's got their favorite. Yes, women, everybody has their favorite types. And you can't tell somebody else that, hey, this is your type is wrong. But that last segment on SmackDown is what I enjoy most about this performance art as wrestling. It had everything that I wanted all balled up into one. So shout out to them. Our guy Eternal on X, shout out to Eternal. He sent us a question last night. I thought this was a really good one. He said, got a question about Randy Orton going to SmackDown. I refuse to believe Randy is going to lose against Roman and not get a rematch. Do you think WWE is putting themselves into a corner? I think that's a fantastic question. Let's talk through that a little bit. Rhodesia, let me start with you. We know Orton's not beating. Let's take the assumption this is happening at the Rumble.
Okay.
This match, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns. We know Randy's not beating Roman at Royal Rumble. One, do you think he gets a timely rematch? And then you can tell us, if not, why. If you do think so, why? And then is WWE putting themselves in the corner by doing that match, knowing that Orton is not going to win it?
It's definitely the latter. Now it's going to take those people in that room and creative as far as their storylines on how you're going to make sure that you protect Orton. Orton doesn't need protection, but Orton's not going to win at Rumble, assuming this is going to happen at Rumble for the championship. He's not, because the story is Cody and Roman. So Randy's not going to win. Now, how we play this, I don't know. And I would think that if I was booking, Orton will go through the bloodline to the point where at Rumble, there's really nobody left. Like, everybody is so damaged and hurt that it is just Roman and Randy. They're absolutely putting, what is it? You said shooting himself in the foot or putting their foot in their mouth or whatever. I don't know how we're going to go on the other side of that. Orton is bulletproof, so I know that it doesn't really matter if he wins or lose, but ugh.
I really do enjoy Internal's questions because, as a fellow E, he's very insightful. I appreciate you, my brother.
It's a yin and yang, right? You're not really too insightful. He's very insightful.
He's very
so
insightful.
like it kind of works out. Got it.
No, that's cap. But it's great because we got two E's, and we talk about who's not insightful. We gonna go all the way back to WrestleMania 39. How these two was throwing up the one, so excited that Roman Reigns won, and here we are. The tables have turned.
The best finish in the history of WrestleMania.
The best finish in WrestleMania has weakened the greatest storyline of all time to the point where it is right now, with the Bloodline are a bunch of jobbers. The tables have turned. There's some jobbers.
You think Solo's a jobber?
Solo came in there and got his ass whooped. Jimmy got his ass. Jimmy's ass whooped was so bad that he laid on the mat for a whole hour after the show. They was sweeping around that man.
He's still there.
He's still there.
He's still there. Roman, like Cody, whooped on Roman's ass. He went part-time. That man defended his title 1.5 times since Mania. And now, here we got Randy, by God, Orton, here to refresh the bloodline. He's going to sweeten that feud up a little bit. Wow, like, see, really, it's like Punk told Triple H back in the day. Like, he don't need to wrestle Triple H. Randy Orton don't need to wrestle Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns needs to wrestle Randy. He need Randy Orton to get hot again. Because the Bloodline are a crew of jobbers. That story is sucky. And Randy Orton is here to save us and that feud and get him right for me and Cody so we can finally finish this story. So everything will be fine in the end.
That
if I had a lot of time on this episode, I would like just punch holes all through everything you kind of just said, and I would tell people to go back and listen to previous episodes where you talked about how great the Bloodline story was, but now all of a sudden, because you're insightful, that's not the case, right?
I like that.
So I'm gonna just move on because you didn't even answer the question, but that's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's fine. It's more than fine. It's fine. Do I think they have put themselves in a corner? I don't, because I think what you can do now, we got like 8 weeks or whatever it is until Rumble. So, Rhodesia, to your point, one-on-one booking would tell you Roman throws Jimmy at Randy. He beats Randy, or he beats Jimmy. He throws Solo at him. He beats Solo. I don't think that is what's going to happen. I haven't really given much thought, but if just real quick pop in my head to this question, what I would think is maybe the end goal is like Solo versus Orton at Mania. Maybe that's the end goal for Randy. I don't know how you don't do Solo and Randy leading up to the Rumble, but if you can do Roman and Randy at the Rumble, interference, of course, with the Bloodline, that's the last time where we're just like, okay, we're completely over. Cody, you have to take this belt off of Roman come April, and we get that, and now the entire fan base is elated about it. But if you can spin that to now even deeper than me wanting the championship or me wanting to beat Roman, I got to get Solo. This then would kind of make sense of why they've been protecting Solo so much over the last year, is to put him in a damn near semi-main event match with Randy at Mania. You still got Elimination Chamber, so that's kind of playing itself in it too. But kind of just looking at it, that's what I would think maybe the business is with Randy, because we know it's going to be Jimmy and Jay at Mania somehow, some way. We still got to figure out how they get there. So no, I don't think they're painting themselves in the corner. I do think they're painting themselves in the corner, though, if they would have gone with LA Knight again. Like, there was some talk online, like maybe LA Knight gets another shot at the Rumble. And I'm like, absolutely not. We know he's not winning. He can't take another major loss like that. Like,
you mean like against Roman?
Against Roman, yeah, against Roman.
Wow, okay.
There's still some talk about AJ being there. I'm cold on AJ. Like, I'm good. I don't need to see him and Roman, because once again, we know there's no shot of Roman losing at the Rumble. So at least give me Randy, where I know, okay, there can be a great match that can happen, and then there's going to be a story behind it where that's going to take us to Mania season. I don't care about AJ and anything Bloodline related. I just don't. And I could be in the minority. I don't, though. But that's a fantastic question. Eternal, give us your thoughts on that one too. And then, of course, anybody listening, just hit us up on X at That's FNW. And if you got questions for the show, put it there. And also, if you got any comments on what we talked about, put it there too. And we'll talk about it, of course, on our next couple shows. So we got Randy back. I do want to ask you guys, and we just got it's a Punk question. News came out on
it's not
Thursday,
really?
I think.
Okay.
Punk versus Austin is being discussed at WrestleMania. Oh my God. If you guys somehow just started watching wrestling, Google, YouTube, WWE 2K, Austin, and Punk. And you will find 22 minutes. I think it's 22 minutes. And JR moderates. It's only for the video game. But you will see what lightning in a bottle and kinetic energy is in a room where it doesn't need to be because they're not promoting a match. I am here for it, but I wanted to ask you guys, would you rather have Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk at Mania, or would you rather them hold off on Seth Rollins and Punk, so not do it at the Rumble, and then do Seth Rollins and CM Punk at WrestleMania? Which match would you be more intrigued with?
So our options are at Rumble, Seth
At
and
Mania.
Punk.
At Mania, either you get Seth and Punk because, yeah, there you go. Or
Seth
you
and
get
Punk.
Austin and Punk because we got Seth and Punk at the Rumble.
I take the latter. I like Punk and Austin at Mania. I think that'll be something that is a big draw, and you do that big draw at the grandest stage of them all at Mania. I'll be there for that.
On paper, I like it, but right now, Punk's a face, right?
Mm-hmm.
Austin is a. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Based on the story, right? If he turns, which would be very interesting for them to return. I mean, returning CM Punk after being away for 10 years within like a month or two, you turn him heel. Very, very interesting. He certainly can do it. Because I said, his promo seemed weird to me, but I'm sure it was genuine. But if they don't turn him, I don't like that match with Austin.
So no face first face for you.
Not face first face.
Okay.
Because the reason why it was a match I wanted to see, damn it, well, how long was that? Like 15 years ago? Especially when Punk was a hot heel, really, going through it with that straight edge gimmick. It made a lot of sense for him to stand against a Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? Mm-hmm. Stone Cold, throw some beer in his face or something like that. It would have been very interesting, especially Punk was like so hot and venomous on the microphone at the time too, right? So I thought, like, from a mic perspective and an in-working perspective, it'd have been a great matchup. But right now, in this point in time, when you got both these guys are older, Punk's currently a face, Austin definitely would be a face. I'm not sure it would pack the same oomph unless they hot shot Punk to a heel between now and then. And so we can get that heel versus Punk dynamic, heel versus face dynamic.
That's a good bring up. I think you can get away with. You could find a way if you did Seth and Punk at the Rumble to have a shade of gray in there where Punk gets booed more than cheered coming out of the Rumble against Seth. And then that can lead to an Austin. I guess from a business perspective, would that make sense to turn people against Punk when we just saw these huge astronomical social media numbers that he posted?
I love you. I'm here for you. Unless that's all cap, right? Unless he flips it.
It could be.
Unless he flips it, so.
Right? It could be. Like, what if he turned into like the corporate CM Punk and Austin comes back just to be like, dude, you're supposed to be this Hellraiser, this Trailblazer, the voice of the voiceless, like, you know what I mean? I think there's a cool story you could tell too there. But there's a lot of different options. I wanted to ask you guys that.
But you know what? Like,
anyway,
it can definitely work.
Anyway, I can get Punk and Austin. Give me Punk and Austin.
It can definitely work, but I feel like if they're gonna turn heel Punk and give him a character shift, let him build that character and get that character hot and ready for a matchup with Stone Cold. I don't kind of want to see them hot shot like an Angle.
Do you think it's hot shot though? You got 5 months. It's a long time.
But Well, you got to go from where he is now to where he needs to be for Mania.
True that.
Like, right? You're going from one character to another. And that's not a lot of time in grand scheme. Like a Roman Reigns is solidified. So if he had Roman Reigns Stone Cold, like Roman Reigns has been who he is for a long time. So that's ready. That's a ready match. I would rather see that at Mania, but I still want to get my story finished too. So I don't know.
You gotta get Cody in there first. You gotta get Cody in there first, because I think if you do Punk and Roman, that is your easiest and best opportunity to turn Roman face when that happens.
So if you're saying that, then that will clearly mean that Punk would be a bad guy then at Mania. So then there's no difference in being a bad guy by the time he hits Austin.
No, I mean, because that Roman match may not happen for 2 years.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, you still tell the entire Bloodline story that you need to tell. Him losing the belts and then Solo leaving him. Jim, you still got to tell that entire thing. And then I think there is a way that you can have him and Punk and then actually Roman become the sympathetic figure. And that we're starting to see that with Bayley too. So before we move on, E, you sent us the Ric Flair tweet in our group chat. I want you to talk about that. But before we get to that, we saw a little bit of some sympathy coming for Bayley with Damage Control on SmackDown, and you had been harping for the last few weeks just that, she's not a sympathetic character. How can we get her to be a baby face if she's not that? And we're starting to see a little bit of that. What did you think when you saw that backstage segment?
I said, here we go. Now we cooking, right? EO's being mean to her. You stay back here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she said that so clear.
So clear.
She said that so clear.
She sure did, and I loved it. I thought it was great, actually. I loved that. And Bayley looked like, like a sympathetic character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right? Then she came out there and she tried to help. And she did help. And Kyrie still got her ass whooped.
Yeah.
But you could tell that probably next week they're going to blame it on her in some type of way. So they cooking. Here we go.
Yeah. I'm happy about it too. But Bayley's just good. So when you see her, that was after the pay-per-view when they say maybe you can find my friends, it was just on exclusive WWE exclusive. That was like the first part of where I'm like, oh man, I do feel kind of bad for Bayley, and she just made it so believable right in Gorilla when it's like, no, you stay here, and she was like, okay. Like I'm like, Bayley, like what was that 1 week, 1.5 times of me seeing her, I'm already feeling sad for Bayley. And I love Asuka, I love Io, so like to me I feel like I'm a Damage Control girl, but I am feeling for Bayley. Like, come on, Bayley. Don't do her like that.
We talked about last pod about like AEW, hey, make us feel.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing some things, like with Swerve that's making us feel. But like that segment made us feel.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it did anyway. I was like, okay, we got something here. And I hate running through topics that I know we could spend 15, 20 minutes on. And if we go off on a tangent on this is fine. And then we'll just cut some, off this show and put it on Wednesday. But it really is lining up for Sasha Banks to return to WWE with this story. Because I'm sitting there watching SmackDown and I'm doing the math. Like, Dakota should be back in January. That's true, a few short weeks. They kick Bayley out of Damage Control. That leaves 4 women in Damage Control. Becky and Charlotte are getting back cool.
Mm-hmm.
They get Bayley. That's 3.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the 4th person?
Number 30 and Royal Rumble.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm sticking by what I said. I hope Tony had already put pen to paper last year, and we thought she was going to, show up at that January LA show as Saraya's partner or, guest in the crowd. That didn't happen. She showed up at All in London. They kept showing her in the crowd. Word was if she was not injured, she would have been on the card. We didn't see her at the pay-per-view in November. She wasn't the big signing. Ospreay was. So for AEW's sake, I hope she is signed. But for, of course, WWE's sake, and even where wrestling is right now, I would be lying if I didn't say, if I had my pick, I would rather her be in WWE now. The landscape is just set up much more. AEW needs her more
Sure.
But for, hey, I know they're going to do her 100% right and present her the way she should, I'd be a fool if I said, yeah, let's still have her go to AEW. No, it would be WWE.
Two things real quick. Like, number one, Dakota, that was like the best on the mic I've heard her in her entire
she looked
career.
super comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the best I've heard her, because she always seems somewhat unsure of herself. I don't know if she is or isn't, but she just doesn't seem. She's never really seemed good on the mic to me. But she seemed very natural. Okay, she could be a nice mouthpiece for this group, because she did. She handled herself really well. But if you're Mercedes and you're looking at that AEW women's roster and how it's structured, and you look at the WWE women's roster and where it's going, it's no mistake that WWE's women's division is in a better space than AEW's. Correct?
Absolutely.
I know I'm the resident hater of AEW, but seriously.
Absolutely. But it goes back, though, to a number of things. The first thing is she contractually obligated to AEW and JPW? That's the first thing. But the second thing is, what does she want out of her career? So for me as a fan, I absolutely want her to be the fourth horsewoman and go over to WWE. But she may not want that. She may want,
Correct.
hey, let me be the leader. Let me be the person who charged this AEW women's division to the mountaintop.
Look at Trendy, Naomi.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure that's one of the big reasons why she went to Impact. Yeah, I mean, there was no hard feelings where she could not come back to WWE, but it was, hey, for right now, Impact is best for me, for what I want to do, what I can do. And I think it could be the same thing for Mercedes too. I'm strictly only talking from a fan perspective, but
right.
It's not even close in regards to the roster. And then you look at, there's rumors about some other talent coming in to WWE in 2024. And then still, let's not forget about these contracts. I keep bringing it up every couple of weeks, because that is going to be that big in 2024 with contracts being up and seeing people shift. I think alone you could sell Sasha on her and Jade.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those alone. We can tell this story, and that is a future WrestleMania main event anywhere in the world. And that could be a night 2 WrestleMania main event.
Well, hell, we were saying that back in AEW. If Mercedes was going to go to AEW, we could see her going against Jade. I know at first we were like, not for maybe the TBS championship, because we thought that would be a little beneath Mercedes. But we mentioned that, hey, we could see them two going against each other.
I know we're not familiar with her yet, but I think if the rumors about Julia come into the company, I think that'd be very interesting for her too. When I look at the AEW locker room, like, I actually really enjoy Toni Storm. Like, she's like a treat for me.
Yep.
And I like Julia Hart as champion.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at her potential matches, okay, we got Toni Storm. We got Mercedes versus Julia Hart. Mercedes versus Sky Blue.
Mariah May. Statlander.
Or Julia, Kairi Singh, Io, Jade, Rhea Ripley. Not saying that I definitely think there's a lot of potential in the AEW women's roster if it was booked better and properly.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's just a no-brainer to me.
You just gave me a great segue. So let's talk about the Flair promo and then the follow-up tweet after we talk about Britt Baker, because you brought up the AEW's women's division.
I didn't mention Britt Baker.
Yep. Britt had a tweet on Wednesday right after Dynamite. I think it was like 9:59. So it may have been why Dynamite was still on. I'm sure everybody's seen it, but just in case you have not. Tonight's AEW Dynamite, MJF live promo time, 7 minutes. Christian Cage live promo time, 10 minutes. All of 2023, AEW Dynamite, Britt Baker live promo time, 0 minutes. I didn't realize she hadn't cut a live promo. I don't even know if the information in the tweet even matters in the context of maybe what the discussion should be. Allegedly, this is not a work. When I first saw it, the first thing I thought about was, oh, all right. This is a work, and this is something devil related, because after she tweeted that, there was a tweet about MJF like not restoring the feeling or something. If you guys remember, before Dynamite, he made a tweet about how he's hurting, but it's time to go to work. And then the last line was like, time to restore the feeling. And Sammy liked the tweet. I think Jack Perry liked the tweet about
Sammy Guevara,
him not restoring the feeling. And I'm not sure if Britt liked it, but she may have. That makes me think like, okay, that looks like a work. But allegedly, from semi-reliable sources, this is not a work. That tweet is evidently how she feels. She hadn't taken it down. It's still there. And she went on the next day and tweeted about All In ticket sales going, which, hey, shout out to AEW.
Like
34,000 seats sold week 1 for All In again. I had my thoughts about them going back to Wembley each and every year in terms of trying to get that return business, but 34,000 with 8 months to go or whatever it is, looks like they're doing some pretty damn good business. So shout out to them for that. But to that tweet, one, do you think any chance it's a work? And if you don't think it's a work, what's your thoughts about her airing her grievances like that while the television show was still on?
I think everything's a work in wrestling, to be honest with you. Well, at least they're trying to turn it into one. I'm still kind of holding out hope that maybe she was the devil. But I think we talked about it maybe a long time ago. But they really put Britt in the back seat during the Jamie Hayter rise.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they were setting up for an eventual Britt's not Brett. I'm thinking more Bret Hart. Britt's
the best there
heel
was.
turn.
Best
Yeah, right. Maybe that was on the docket at some point. We're gonna get her taking the back seat and then her stabbing her in the back, while she was in that back seat with Jamie. Maybe that's where they were going. But she's definitely went from being a main focal point in that division, and that division was, I thought, was kind of successful with her being a focal point in the division, to her being non-existent, to her being off TV for some time. I don't know if she's injured, or they decided to keep her off TV. But with the division, when I look at it, I feel like they solely needed her and her character, because she's one of the few women on roster actually knows her character, can demand the microphone. I think her in ring is fine, but I think from a character and mic standpoint, they definitely could have used her. So I don't know what the deal is. I think maybe at some point it was, maybe a shoot. Hopefully turn it into a work and we can do some good business.
It's a shooting work. It's both.
Okay.
100% both. It's a fact that she made that she hasn't had any live on air time in 2023. So we know that's shoot. We know that's real. And it's probably a work too, because it's also her trying to get attention. And then who knows if this is about to play into the storyline, the devil or something like that. Absolutely should work. The bigger question of all of this is truly, why hasn't she had a live mic time on AEW television? That to me is completely, and I never like to go against AEW. That makes absolutely no sense to me at all. You probably have your best woman on the mic, again, minus Tony, but she's a character. You have probably the best person on your mic there as a woman, and she's not on the mic. For what reason?
Hey, you know what though? Real quick, Matt. You said something, Rhodesia, and I don't really like talking about AEW. I actually do like it. I actually prefer it. But you said it makes no sense.
Prefer it over what?
Did I say
over ROH?
You said prefer.
You said I actually prefer it.
Oh, I like it.
Okay.
I prefer it over anything else.
Okay.
Look at y'all. I was trying to turn some shit.
No, you said it. I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to be clear, because I don't need the listeners and the fans of the pod to say, "Hey, Eshaun prefers AEW over WWE." And then
I think our real fans, like internal, they know exactly. I think it's just my co-hosts are always confused by things.
No, I was always told, say what you mean what you say.
I've always heard that one. I always heard.
Yeah, but it's clear what I mean, and it's clear what I said. But
it's clear what I said.
But a lot of things don't make sense. That's the problem. So many of their booking and creative stuff, it just doesn't make sense why we don't see people on a consistent basis. Like, right, they have all these guys and gals at their disposal, and they're not. It doesn't sound like they're ever using them properly, right? It's kind of like Monty and the Pistons, man. You got Jaden Ivey, you got all this talent, you ain't using it properly. You came to a young team. Sorry, guys, on the tangent. You went to a young team, and you ain't trying to play these guys. What you come there for, man? That's what you went there for. But anyway, back to the AEW.
I don't know. I don't know if we win 12 games this year.
It's gonna be rough. I think it might be the worst season we ever have. It don't sound like it's getting better. It don't sound like it's getting better with that roster. I thought, you know what? One day we should just do a That's Basketball podcast, but that's not today. But let's go back to AEW. That's part of my frustration with the companies. They have all these tools at their disposal. They just don't use properly, and you never know why. And then me as a fan, just talk about me as a fan. I'm supposed to get excited about a Mercedes coming back. They're not using the people they got properly. Like, we don't know why people aren't getting pushed or why people don't get mic time and where they were. Like, I get there was a storyline for Jamie and maybe at some point. We don't know. There's speculation. I'm just making some stuff up. But you got this girl sitting at home who can move numbers and who can talk, who look good, and you ain't using her? Like, why? So she can come out and cut this promo right now? Like, I don't get it.
So let me play devil's advocate, because both of you and neither one of you said anything wrong. But let me just play devil's advocate, because this is what we can do. She has a back injury, so I think that's why she's been off TV.
Oh,
that's
just
okay. That's just a fact, right? Whatever on that.
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that
either.
But if we think about that statement is I have not had any live promo time on Dynamite all year. I can argue, well, none of your stories dictated you needing a live in-ring promo this year in 2023. That's a separate conversation of what you just said, E. And once again, you are correct on utilizing talent the best way, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm only going off of the facts. If we look at the stories that she's been in 2023, where she was the sidekick behind Jamie when Jamie was going on her title run, she's been on Collision, if I'm not mistaken. She's absolutely had promo time on Dynamite. They've been backstage promos. Has she been in a feud or story where you say, hey, go out and cut a in-ring promo for 10 minutes? I don't think so. And then I also don't think it makes sense either just to throw her out there. Oh, just because you can talk, let's put you out there and let's talk. They did that with Bray Wyatt back in the day, if you remember. And he would go out there and he would cut like 15-minute promos. And it was like, okay, the promo was great, but like you ain't even talking about nothing, really. So I don't want them doing that. No, she absolutely, one of your best talkers in the entire company, should have zero live in-ring promo time on your number one show. No. But then, just like I said, to play devil's advocate, I would just say, well, maybe you haven't had any stories to dictate. Now we can unwrap that and just say, before her back's been hurting for a while, but before she's been off TV, why is she not in that situation? And I can say, absolutely, you're right. Because like Thunder Rosa, I think Thunder Rosa's been cleared for a couple months now.
Yeah.
And what are we waiting for to use her? But then, as Rhodesia says about talking out of both sides of your mouth, I'm the same person that says, let's not just do matches for matches. Right? So then maybe she's the devil. Maybe Thunder Rosa.
Thunder's the devil.
But
not,
you know,
not
so
the
like
figurative devil. We talking about the literal
let's
devil.
not use her just for random dynamites or collisions. Let's have her in a story. But I just thought it was interesting. When I first saw it, my initial thought was it was a work. Easily thought that. And then, you know, news coming out like on Thursday that it's not, and then seeing the likes, and I was like, wow, okay.
Got a quick question. I think this came up, maybe E brought this up a couple weeks ago. And I just thought about it. Since the 4 years AEW has been around, they've always kind of been bitten by the injury bug. Do you think they have inadequate trainers, nutritionists, physical therapy, those people who work on the body there versus like a WWE? I'm not on wood. Yeah, you'll hear WWE, someone will go out, one or two people. And of course, they have much more staff than AEW does, I believe. I mean, who knows right now with the layoffs. But I just feel like AEW is always battling injuries. Like a lot of people are always injured there, it feels like. More so than in WWE. It could also be the booking and how you can like camouflage certain things. But do you see that? Or do you feel that way too? Either one of you?
Well, one thing that's different about WWE and AEW is that a lot of those wrestlers, they work shots outside the company where they're not protected under that umbrella, like, right? And then in addition to that, if you look at the match types that these guys are in, like, this and I had text Matt, right? I'm a big Top Flight fan. Excited to see them back together. They did not have to show me Dante's injury.
Man,
I did not have. I'm not sure why they decided to show me that injury.
And Matt replayed it on the Twitter.
I was
like,
they could have
just see it, y'all. Everybody got to see it.
They could have just like, hey, came back from gruesome. That would have been enough. That'd been enough for me. I was happy to see him back. But if you look at that injury, like in that spot, I mean, of course, wrestling is dangerous, but that's a dangerous
move,
high risk spot that they're taking, and they do a lot of it on their television, right? So they're doing that on their television. They're probably doing it at other venues as well. So I just think probably just their style of work is probably leading to more injuries than we would see at a WWF or WWE.
I also think too, some of it's just bad luck.
Yeah.
Think about Adam Cole. Right, if this ankle is legit broken, that has nothing to do
for
with.
sure. For he just jumped down, right?
Yeah, because we saw it happen real time, right? That's just like
that kind of is what it is, right? Like nothing Britt has done for her back. That's just from her bumping. MJF getting his hip popped back in place. Yeah, he could not have done the elbow drop to the outside, but we've seen similar moves like that done in WWE. The top rope move he took from Jay White, where he hurt his shoulder. That's a normal type thing. So I think a lot of it is bad luck. I think just the difference is from a talent standpoint is WWE can maneuver around their injuries better than AEW can. That's what it is. It's just really bad timing for the people that get injured. Like if you think about like
Jamie
Phoenix when he went out, they held like all the storylines until he came back.
Yep.
Yeah,
that wouldn't happen in WWE. They'll pivot and maybe they'll go back to it. Maybe they would never go back to it. But that's one of the things I do like about Tony Khan and AEW's booking is like if he feels a certain type of way about a booking, through hell or high water, we get in there. Now the 6 months or the 5 months or the 4 months may suffer until that person comes back, but we're going to get there.
I hate it.
So like
pivot, young man, pivot.
Yeah, that's something that they got to do a better job at. You want to go with the Flair piece now, or do you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about Flair.
Okay,
because there's a lot of negative backlash about Ric Flair joining AEW, right? And a lot of it stems from the plane ride from hell. And this question before I get into it, I'm pretty sure, Matt, you have heard the stories back in the day prior to seeing on Dark Side of the Ring, right?
Yes.
Right. What about you, Rhodesia? Have you heard the stories?
The stories of the plane ride from hell?
Yeah.
I don't know where I heard it from, but I've heard it before.
You've heard the stories, right? So everyone's heard of these stories about Ric Flair, and I've heard stories forever about him being on these planes naked. But what we didn't have was the context. Like, right? Like, I didn't know he was naked in these roles and there's women involved in these things, right? And so now we get to see it in real time. It makes it seem horrible bad, right? So fast forward, AEW, Ric Flair's back. He cuts a promo on Rampage. Now, I didn't watch Rampage to know if they actually cut this promo.
They cut it.
Did they cut it?
I didn't watch it either, but I saw part of the promo and then it was confirmed that they cut the line out.
Yeah. Which you should, as you should, right? Especially if you
okay. So do you have the line in front of you?
I don't have the line, but I remember the line was something. It was an older line. Do you have it?
No, but I'll pull it up because we need the context of what that line is.
Well, let me just go ahead and read what Ric Flair said about the pushback that he got from the promo. And he was very upset, and so he chose to capitalize every word from this paragraph. To let him know. So I guess he's shouting.
Only the first letter though in every word. He didn't even. It'd be different if he just hit the all caps button and did it.
No. Yeah, because each word is a capitalization. So he's like, I am so tired of hearing all this negativity, and then I don't need to work, and I don't need the money, I can't simply enjoy being by my dear friend at Sting's side for the next few months without so much hatred. I know I'm old, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy life. And he goes on to say that if he's an embarrassment to AEW, Tony Khan, he'll go home. So is he okay? You got the line?
Yes. One fantastic, incredible.
But wait, before you read that, Matt,
with the tweet. Incredible job.
Because I'm trying to get a little bit, because I haven't seen this. So you're saying he did a capital letter on each word?
So
he took his time.
Not the entire word.
Yeah, he took his time.
Like he's typing, like each word was a sentence.
Got it. Okay.
But there's no period. It's just.
So what the line was, this was the promo we cut on Rampage. The line was 18 to 28. No boyfriends, no husbands. Meet me at my hotel room. That was the line.
One more time.
18 to 28. No boyfriends, no husbands. Meet me at my hotel room.
And when did he say this?
This was during
on Rampage. During an interview with Tony Schiavone.
Oh, so he said that like as he's 73 years old, 74 years old.
Oh
now.
yeah, no, he just said it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So did you ask a question, or are you just waiting for my response to that?
Yeah, I want your response. I want to know from a woman, how do you feel about that comment?
So you heard that, so there was backlash, significant backlash online before it aired. Just that, I can't believe you said that. Are you kidding me? This guy is still sexually assaulting, or has a perception of that from Plane Ride in Hell. Because remember, he got naked and was showing the stuff to the female stewardess, and then that's where that
all the stuff
semi-capital letter tweet came from. After that, now to give some more context, the majority of the workers that talked and spoke out on that tweet were pro Ric Flair. Miro was like, ignore it. Jericho is like, you're Nate. Fuck it. Like, you can do what you want, or you can say what you want. So then that's where a little bit of that, like, if I need to walk away from the promotion, if I'm an embarrassment, then so be it.
In more context, he's more context before you go. He set that line for years, 30 years ago. That was like part of his shtick.
And what he said, I have no problem with it. If I'm just taking that line, 18 to 28, no husbands, no boyfriends, meet me in the hotel room, bedroom, or whatever.
Woo!
He didn't say, hey, I'm going to drug you, I'm going to rape you, I'm going to hurt you. He's pretty much saying, hey, come meet me. So that means that woman between 18 to 28 needs to come to his room on their own volition. I don't have a problem with that line alone. But if you're saying he has had a history of maybe being aggressive toward women, and maybe not aggressive may not be the right word, but if he's had this history, then maybe he shouldn't have said that. And maybe he could be kind of looked and frowned upon today. If this has been his track record, and we said that this is not going to go anymore. That was okay. It wasn't okay, but it was accepted 30 years ago. You can't do that now, and he's still doing it now. That is a problem. But just the line itself, I think the line itself is harmless. I mean, because if I was an old lady, I would probably say that too. Hey, any young men between the age of 18 and 35, come to my hotel room. No one gonna, well, I can't do nothing with them. But
go ahead, Mae Young.
But yeah, that's exactly it. Bingo. I have no problem with the line.
Back in that day.
That's true. He got her pregnant, right?
Mark Henry got her pregnant from, baby.
But the line itself, I have no problem with. Maybe because who's come from and that history of that person, then maybe that is the problem there. But whatever. He's not trying to incite any kind of I'm going to forcefully force myself on a woman or anything like that.
Do not take my comments and misconstrue them at all.
I will. Go ahead.
Yep. He's going to cut that part out.
Well, I'm talking more to the public. I'm talking more to the public because this can be a sensitive subject and topic. I understand that.
Yep.
The line had to be cut out of Rampage.
Yes.
You can't put that there. I also don't have a problem with him saying the line either.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we can't hold things that's happened to people in their past against them forever. And that line, I could argue. Look at those beautiful balloons.
Whoa!
How did it even happen?
Very, very inappropriate.
I could argue that line. It has nothing to do with the plane ride from hell. I could argue that. I could also argue it does. I guess my point is, to the letter of the law, 18 years old is legal in the majority of the world, right?
Absolutely.
I think what people's issue was 18. Say if he would have said 28 to 40,
we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah.
Maybe even if he just said 21, 31. I think it's the 18 line. To E's point, he's done that. This is Flair. Flair is going off of muscle memory. Yeah. He is. Flair is going off of I'm Nature Boy, right? I'm styling and profiling. We know what Nature Boy Ric Flair is. I think it's a bit. I thought the backlash was a bit much. I do. Once again, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I think it was dirty, nasty business for you to expose yourself to anybody that does not want to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that happened a long time ago, and if Safi did do it again, we can't hold somebody to that. Everybody in the world has done something stupid at some point that they could be canceled for at this point if it came out. Everybody in the world. That's a fact. Now, the question, and maybe we can wait and talk about this later on, because I do think the fan backlash was a bit much. And I think if we peel back the curtain a lot with maybe the hardcore, the hardest core that are vocal AEW fans, I can argue this is starting to become a pattern. If it's something we don't like, we turn on that wrestler. If it's something we don't like, we turn on that character to the point of they can never get over.
No, remember I told you I'm a huge fan right now. No, I'm a huge fan.
Remember, she said she's on board now.
Remember Roman? We got Punk.
She said that about LA Knight.
I did.
Blowing her panties down on him now too.
Ooh.
Not for Matt. Not for Matt. For Boo Boo.
That's the perfect way to end this show. We're gonna stop it right there.
Me pulling my pants down for LA Knight.
We got a lot for Wednesday. I want to bring up this whole Warlord Devil thing from Dynamite. I think we want to talk about that. We still got to get to Triple H's comments about Jade and where she was in regards to readiness level for WWE. We saw her yesterday, actually, along with a few other WWE. Taker was there. Samantha was there. Samantha and Jade together in a shot, rapping and dancing is this content I did not know I needed. Shout out to everybody that enjoyed that content. It was magical and beautiful.
They're rapping and dancing. I just saw an image of the two of them standing next to each other.
Yeah. It was fantastic. Loved it. So she's there doing PR, but we haven't seen her in the ring yet. We got to talk about that. And I'm sure there's some other good things we'll talk about too, going into whatever else we got going into this week. So that is everything, guys. We are out of here. Once again, thank you guys for listening. You guys know, shout out to all of you that support us, listen to the pod twice a week, each and every week on all your favorite platforms. We are everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., etc. And then we are on YouTube, and that's Freakin Wrestling. Full episodes twice a week is there. IG, X, that's FNW. And we're going to get this TikTok thing figured out too. I promise. It's coming. We got to get our clips up on TikTok. So there you go. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you guys and talk to you guys on a Wednesday. Peace.